This is the Shotgun City Sheriff, the law himself, Clayton Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Kennedy, a.k.a. Mr. Anderson.
This is the Young Titan, Aaron Atlas.
Hey, this is Matt Brannigan.
This is the Warbound Hellhound, Bo Sword.
This is your favorite drunken pro wrestler, a.k.a. the Bud Light Brawler, Dalton Davis.
This is Lizzie Six.
This is Jake Something.
And this is the jaw-jacking, back-cracking, God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, Rohit Raju, and you are listening to the Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast. Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast. Hell yeah.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast? Yeah, that's right, I stuttered. Shut up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spot Show Podcast, an independent wrestling podcast with a few pit stops along the way. Got a little bit of bad news for you guys. The one-legged wonder, Michael Madrox, is still a little under the weather. Could not be here in the studio today, but when you need backup, you look, hits elbow, bend to the elbow, to the blood. You look to the click. And that's a tie-in because we're going to be talking about the Attitude Era a little bit today. We got Dalton Davis here.
I wonder how many times you're going to do that same intro.
Have I done it before?
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it before, but hell yeah.
Have I done that before?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Really?
Yeah, I've definitely heard you say that before.
Damn.
Maybe not on the podcast, but in real life for sure.
I do say it in real life a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, we got one more guest here making his first ever podcast appearance, at least as far as I know.
Great guy here.
Great guy. Let's hear it for MadBash Wrestling senior official, Mr. HBJ is in the house. Mekhi, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dickie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how's it feel to be on your first podcast?
Well, it's a little nerve-wracking for sure. I will say that, but you know, I'm really ready to get into the conversations we're going to have, and I'm excited for what's about to unfold.
And we got some good conversations lined up.
He's PR trained. Hell yeah.
He's PR. He's already taken PR classes. They just fist bump. He said good stuff, and then he fist bump. Hey, but before we get into the good stuff, I just want to remind everyone that this is, of course, the Spot Show Podcast. Every week we gather around these microphones and we talk about the crazy, crazy world of professional wrestling and everything else in between. If you like what we're doing, you can head on over to patreon.com/MadBash Studios. Back us at the $5 and above tier. You're going to get this show completely ad-free and early. A little bit early on that one as well. You can't beat that deal with a stick. That's less than a cup of coffee a month. You can support us and make the dream work. That's what we like to see. Hey, that's not the only way that they can support us, though. That's not the only way. You go to madbashstudios.com. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform. Leave us a 5-star written review on this show. We would greatly appreciate that. Also on there, you're going to find links to our YouTube, Facebook, all of our social media. Give us a like, a follow, whatever they're calling it nowadays. But we got some plug skis. And this is breaking news. This first plug ski is going to be a little bit of breaking news because September 21st, MadBash is going to be in the 210 Saloon doing commentary. Now, originally, it was Dickie Wabash and Michael Madrox were going to be in the booth. But again, Michael Madrox is feeling a little bit under the weather. Get well soon, Madrox. We really do need you back. But Dickie Wabash is going to be in the booth with the Bud Light Brawler. Dalton Davis is going to be joining me for commentary.
Can you imagine that? HBJ. Cecil Cerveza said, Michael Madrox is down and out. You know who else is down and out? Dalton Davis.
I couldn't imagine it.
They trust me with a live mic. That's crazy. Shout out to Cecil. Shout out to the 210 Saloon for the opportunity. This is going to be it's going to be kind of crazy.
You know what, though? I am going to bury the lead a little bit here because you have done commentary with us before at the 210, and you were actually really good at it.
Yeah, but that was like I don't know. The scramble matches bring out a different side of me.
They absolutely
they have
do.
a key to my heart, you know.
Hey, and then the next day, also in Danville, Illinois, we are going to be at NVW New Version Wrestling, the David Halls Memorial Show. 1 year ago, we recorded Danville Dreamers 2, so who knows? Who knows what we're going to be recording at NVW? You never, ever know. And then the following weekend, the 28th, we will be in Washington, Indiana for Elite Pro Wrestling. Stay strong, keep fighting. I've also got breaking news on that one, too. If the brother, Michael Madrox, is not cleared to be able to be in the booth, the Bud Light Brawler Dalton Davis will also be on commentary with me on that one.
Which is crazy because I haven't been to Stay Strong, Keep Fight. I haven't been to a Washington show in general since I wrestled Jason Levi.
You have not been at a Washington show since MadBash has been at EPW.
Yeah, so I mean it's been a while. You know?
Yeah, so you're going to get
knock on wood. I hope Madrox is there. Either
Yes.
way, I will be along for the ride.
Yeah,
so
you're going to be
I'm
there
looking forward to
regardless.
it.
But I mean, maybe even Colby Jack's not in the. Maybe we can make it a 3-man booth. Who knows? You never know. You never know.
Looky there. Teamwork makes a dream work, brother.
Hey, speaking of Elite Pro Wrestling, this episode is also brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling and Venom Energy Drink, but enough of the plug skis. HBJ was talking about it. He said that he's ready for the topic of conversation today. He's ready for the topic. And I think I got a pretty solid topic here. I really do. Because old Dickie Wabash is always in the booth cooking. Always thinking of what the next big idea could be, what the next big discussion could be. And I got thinking about it. We got Dalton Davis. We got HBJ. Substantially younger than me. Roughly 10 years younger than me. You guys grew up on a different generation of wrestling than I did.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
You
were more the Attitude Era. We were more the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Which
the Ruthless Aggression into the PG era, mostly.
It's funny how it's not really funny. It's just amazing how wrestling ties over because I know about your generation. I necessarily didn't live your generation, but I know your generation, and you lived my generation, so you know it. So we get both sides of it.
And that's why this is going to be a fun discussion because, my early moments watching wrestling on TV are from a completely different generation than you guys know about because this is stuff that you learned about as history.
Yeah.
And I make the comment, the weird thing about wrestling is that some of my best friends learned about 9/11 as an historical event as opposed to something that they witnessed in real life. So that's what I shouldn't laugh about. That's not what I'm laughing about. I'm laughing about the situation. But so HBJ, we'll start with you. What's your first earliest memory of wrestling on TV? Because I got to back up a little bit because for those of you that don't know, your dad was a worker. So you were pretty much around the wrestling business from an early age. So I'm sure your early wrestling memory is different than your early wrestling on TV memory.
Yeah, that's for sure. So growing up, obviously, I was doing the towns with my dad, getting to see wrestling from that standpoint. But obviously from television, it wasn't more of watching WWE because unfortunately, it wasn't in our household too much, just how it was. So DVDs going back to ECW DVDs, TNA DVDs, stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
That's what I was really put on growing up. And so while I didn't get too much of the WWE TV run that I should have growing up, that other kids may have got, I just watched something maybe completely different than that.
And I did not know that. And that brings a completely different take to it because you're watching, if you're saying ECW, then that means that you're probably watching mid 90s to late 90s ECW and then TNA, early 2000s TNA, which we're going to probably talk a lot about TNA because I know Dalton and I know you are as well, Mekhi, huge TNA fans, but that's going to be a pretty cool perspective
for sure
to
literally the perfect dynamic.
Yeah, we really got a great dynamic here.
It was really more of the early 2000s for both of them.
Okay, yeah.
Early 2000s, and then you get into the 90s with ECW a lot.
Yeah, because they folded in 01.
Yeah.
Yes, 01. Yeah. 01. So Yeah, you weren't even. By the time they were gone, you weren't even.
Yeah.
Neither one of you were born yet. So
Yeah.
and like I was, we're gonna go ahead and go with you, Dalton. Like whether it be DVDs or watching it on TV or stuff like that. Like what's some of your early where you cut your teeth?
So growing up, the first memory I have of wrestling is me and my cousin Dalton always had like PSPs growing up, and I remember there was one time old JD took us into GameStop, and we got to pick out a new game, and we wanted a game that like we could both kind of grind together while we were at our grandma's house, and it was I'm wanting to say SmackDown versus Raw 2007.
Oh, that was the best one.
Yeah,
that was the best one.
Yeah, it was one of the SmackDown versus Raws. But we just grinded that, and I started enjoying it. And then that's when Dalton was telling me, like, this is on TV. So, like, I remember, like, I would watch it every now and then. And then one day, like, football season ended. I didn't really have much to do. So I started watching it. That's about the time that Triple H and Randy Orton started having their feud. And, like, actually seeing that whole thing unfold and the full story of it. And, like, just when you thought that it was over, it was actually the beginning of something else that was even more twisted, like seeing that roller coaster of emotion. That's what really drew me in, especially with my dad. Like, he was very like old school, like Southern Christian man. So seeing Randy Orton DDT Stephanie McMahon on her head, like, I mean, that gets you shot in the Davis household.
I mean, there's just something too about saying a Southern Christian man that just screams wrestling.
Yeah,
like doesn't that just scream wrestling?
It's kind of funny because like sometimes I see like the Iron Claw, and not Foley, but like some of like Fritz Von Erich's like mannerisms remind me a lot of JD, because it's just like that, like
you gotta lay out for that, Mike.
Yeah, like it just not sugarcoating it, like thick skin.
Yeah,
giving it to you straight.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where it's a little bit different too, because you're talking about where you cut your teeth, and HBJ talking about where he cut his teeth. He did it from DVDs and stuff, but like it seems like a lot of the stuff that he was watching on DVD was stuff that I was like watching in real time. So that's so weird, because like I'm gonna back it up just a little bit. My first vivid, I remember this happening memory, was whenever the NWO invaded Nitro and Rey Mysterio came off the production truck and Kevin Nash grabbed him and lawn darted him into the side of the production truck.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you guys have seen that. I mean, that's like, that's highlight reel shit. And I'm seeing it. Like, this is the stuff that I'm seeing in real time. And I'm sure that there was stuff before that, but I just, how memory works. Whenever a certain age, you don't remember past. But that's the first vivid memory. And then I remember like getting every pay-per-view, and then we would order the pay-per-views. We would order them. There definitely wasn't a special box in the house, hypothetically, that would get you the pay-per-views. And we watched all of them. And I remember my grandma was I've told this story before.
Yeah.
She went to her grave believing, you've not heard this, HBJ. My grandma went to her grave believing that Dude Love, Mankind, and Cactus Jack were 3 different people.
Hell yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, she probably went to her grave thinking that fucking Kane and Undertaker were real brothers too. She had to.
I still like refuse to like not believe that,
Yeah.
It's so like it's engraved in your brain, and that's what's crazy about like my memories of wrestling is like just the little stuff that reminds me of like my childhood heroes. Like, you go to fucking Menards and you see a sledgehammer, and the first thing that you do is you pick it up, you put your hand over the top of it, and you give your friend a Triple H punch with the, sledgehammer. It's just like little things like that. You see, you see a headband, you see a headband, you instantly put it on your bicep and you throw up the "You Can't See Me." Like, it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah.
That like I think is really cool with wrestling as well. Like what I grew up with.
Yeah. What about you, HBJ? Was there anything that like, because he talks about the sledgehammer, it instantly think of Triple H. Was there anything like any object that you would see that you were like, hey, this fucking chair over here, I was just watching Sabu throw it at motherfuckers, and now
Well, you wouldn't believe this, but there was too many times in the household where I would watch my father cut and cut barbed wire, and so too many times
The barbed wire
like
match with Bennett.
and there was multiple barbed wire instances where they would take 2x4s and wrap them up, and
Yeah.
you know, just like firsthand witness, you know, as a kid,
Hardcore stuff.
So, and that's another weird dynamic that we can add to this too, is that with your dad being a worker, you were more exposed to the business than either one of us were.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like, that's what's another weird thing about it, is that I remember going to shows and seeing your dad wrestle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, because there was a period of time where me and Mekhi, you know, life took us our separate ways, but when we became friends again, that was like one of the first things we talked about was like, dude, do you remember like waiting in front of the West T Community Center for a CWF show and just beating the shit out of each other in the side yard of the grass? Like, every time we walk out, I look at it and I see it. And I vividly remember like Mekhi hard buckling me into the fence type shit. Like, that was what we did.
Yeah. And I mean, plus, like you said, you know, with the barbed wires, like, it's no secret. And we're going to get into a little bit of that stuff probably on Paid Show. Your dad was definitely one of the quote unquote deathmatch workers, for lack of a better term.
a hardcore legend of some sort.
In his own mind, H-Bomb is the man. I would love to have him on the podcast one day, but I feel like I wouldn't get a word in edgewise.
Yeah. And
Mekhi just shook his head like, no, you wouldn't.
hey, all I'm saying is if you guys want to watch a pretty decently old school match, there is L2 versus, I think it's Face Kick University. It's, what was Brett Havoc and Donnie Tsunami's tag name?
Yeah, Face Kick United.
Yeah, it was something like that.
You just said it and then asked what it was.
Face Kick. I didn't know if it was exactly.
It was Face Kick United, or like Team Face Kick or something like that.
Yeah, but there's a match of L2, which is Jason Light and Ray Lincoln, and that match is actually pretty decent. Me and Mekhi have watched it a couple.
That's
times.
Uncle Bennett to Mekhi.
Yeah, that's Uncle. Hey, that's Uncle Bennett. You got to show respect, okay?
You got to show respect. So, with that being said, this brings me to my next question, which, cat's out of the bag, obviously. We know what wrestling is. With your dad, like, did your dad keep kayfabe, or was he, like, pretty just kind of loose with it? So, like, I guess the question is, like, when did you know that wrestling was a work because of your dad, or did he, like, kind of hide that from you?
So obviously I would see it, but he would keep, you know, the mystique of wrestling a secret for many years of my life, until obviously I was old enough and realized on my own, like, hey, read into this stuff and look at what it really is. And, you know,
Was there a specific moment that you remember?
So it was mostly, I would say I was like 13 years old maybe, and I was watching back some old tapes, and I think it was just the way people would protect each other.
Yeah.
I would just watch, and so it led me to Google searches, and then down the rabbit hole, you know, you get to see like people that have been in wrestling. They've put out stuff so that people can understand and know that, hey, it's a work, it's protected, and yeah, it is entertainment. And, you know, that's how I learned it, you know.
Yeah. What about you, Dalton? What was the moment that you realized
that wrestling was like a work?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, my cousins, like, pretty early on, they were kind of like the reason I found out the wrestling wasn't what I thought it was. And like for a while, I refused to believe it because they would always bully me. You know, like, oh, you know that shit's fake.
Oh, we all had it. We all had that. You know that shit's fake.
And
right?
fake. I refused it. And then, like, I think it was one time I can't remember the exact moment, but I think there was one time I seen John Cena go for like the 5-knuckle shuffle, and he just like hits the mat instead of the dude's forehead. And I was just like, all right, here we are.
Yeah.
But like, you know, there was almost a crash. We just heard that.
We just heard the tires squeal. Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, like that was just the thing about wrestling. Sorry, the wreck kind of
kind of threw me off for a turn.
Yeah.
You know, where I live, it's a very dangerous corner because there's like it's a very high traffic area. I hear horns and screeches daily.
Yeah, I bet.
Daily. So yeah, for me, see, you said you were 13. You were probably around the same age, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think I'm only a year older than you. Yeah.
So that's around. Yeah, I feel like I was probably like, I think I always kind of knew in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, because it was like they just lit this motherfucker on fire in a casket, and he's coming back. And, you know, his brother just set him on fire. I want to say that was probably, I don't have an exact moment, but I would definitely say that started it, because like the Attitude Era was still very gritty.
Yeah.
Because of the NWO, you know, the NWO going to WCW and doing all that. And then like his name's really not Razor Ramon, it's Scott Hall. Like, wait a minute, like what is going on here? And then realizing like, man, this might. I was probably fifth grade. I was probably in fifth grade, so 11 roughly when it first like really fully dawned on me of like,
that was
man,
probably about my age too.
Yeah,
because that was about like, I remember that was about the time the WWE was like really bad about bringing in like a mid-carder and then like keeping him off screen for a couple weeks and then debuting him again with something completely different, you know?
Oh yeah,
then,
that was that era.
About
yeah.
that time, I remember like I was watching a lot of stuff like older of Attitude Era, and I remember that was about the time like Tensai debuted, and I was like, this motherfucker's name is not Tensai. And so that's where I started. But that's honestly kind of made me fall in love with it a little bit more, is like seeing the different characters, you know, because like I really liked superheroes growing up, but you don't see Iron Man being anybody else other than Iron Man. You don't see Batman being anybody else other than Batman, but you can see Randy Orton and you can love him, or you can absolutely fucking hate him, or you can see Mankind with his, you know, 3-4 different fucking gimmicks. You can see Undertaker go from, oh, this guy just rose from the grave to, oh, well, he was just at the bar on his motorcycle. Like, I love shit like that. It adds layers, you know?
And that's what's different with HBJ watching ECW, is that was a more gritty, mature product.
Yeah.
You know, you had Sandman, you know, and then Dreamer and Raven, and like meanwhile you have Undertaker, Dude Love, man, but like you know Cactus Jack from fucking barbed wire matches with Sandman, and like that's what's
way
crazy.
Before all that other stuff that I got to watch later on down the line. I was watching Mankind taking barbed wire in ECW before he was in WWE, and that's probably wild to hear.
Well, yeah, it's especially
the fact that your childhood, like, essentially probably your Randy Orton, my Randy Orton is your New Jack. Like, that's just crazy to think about. Like, you grew up watching New Jack.
But it's also the way in which you digested it, because you were getting these tapes and DVDs and watching this old stuff. It's nuts, man, because that would have been around the time that like WWE was releasing like Bloodsport, the best of ECW, and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's weird to me, because like, again, I knew that the concept of this whole interview, they're not really interview, was going to be like, very clearly you guys saw the stuff that I grew up on as history.
Yeah.
But then to hear that like that was what you also grew up, again, it adds a different perspective. That's just really, it's a different perspective to it all. But because I remember it's probably 97, roughly, probably 97. My dad being like, I heard there's this new company called ECW, and it's like more hard hitting. And then I remember getting the first ECW I don't remember what the show was, but I vividly remember seeing Sandman and just being like, fuck yeah, let's go. So if that was 97, my first vivid memory was 96. So I was only like a year into like being a wrestling fan, and then seeing Sandman, you know, I'm going from Hollywood Hogan spray painting people and all this other stuff. And then that's the crazy thing about it too, is that you talk about the renting of you're seeing tapes and stuff, going to Blockbuster and renting tapes of like WrestleMania 4. And, definitely not as exciting as ECW Born to be Wired or anything like that. But
I remember, like, I got some of, like, the event DVDs, like the best of compilations and stuff. But what really made me, like, fall in love with the storytelling aspect and, like, the matches itself and, like, what a match is supposed to be is, like, watching the old 3-disc documentaries they used to do. Like I remember me and Dalton, my cousin Dalton, the OG Dalton as I call him. We got the Hulk Hogan one. I got a Hulk Hogan one. I think he got a Bret Hart one. We watched that one whole day at my grandma's house, and just seeing like the different aspects of Hulk Hogan and like his style of like hard hitting and like more entertainment to like the technician of Bret Hart, who's gonna, make you tap out, stuff like that. It was just crazy to see. And then, you throw in the dynamic of who they're in there with, and how much that changes everything.
Brother was studying tape before you realized you were studying tape.
Well, yeah, I mean? Pretty much. And it was like, well, the way and this might sound a little bit weird, but like, I never liked playing card games as a kid. And so like all my friends would be playing like Bakugan and Pokemon and all that shit. I had like really bad ADHD, so I couldn't sit down there and entertain the idea of cards.
Yeah.
But I kind of treated wrestling as like a card fighting game, like if you have John Cena, well, John Cena could probably beat Zack Ryder, right? Easily.
Only probably.
Oh, yeah. Very easily. But,
steal his girl and then beat him.
You throw John Cena in there with like The Undertaker. Well, then what does John Cena have to do? You know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful outcome of pro wrestling that I love.
And that's what's so different, because like these are our formative years, and we're like so, what's the word? So impressionable.
Yeah.
In a way. So we're like looking at this stuff, and like the way you were breaking it down, and I'm sure the way that HPJ was breaking it down, the way that I was breaking it down was a little bit different. Like I'm told this story too, like here's how I would ingest a lot of wrestling as well, is that my same grandma would record Monday Night Raw for me, and then I would get home from school on Tuesdays and there would be the tape waiting for me, and I would sit down and watch it, and I would just remember being enthralled with it, and I never really broke it down like how you're explaining that you broke it down.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a unique way of looking at it, of where it's like, look, I don't have the patience for Pokemon TCG or, Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. I'm gonna break wrestling down like that. And then, there was a wrestling card game called Raw Deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have 2 decks somewhere.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Kurt Angle and Jericho, I think.
Yeah, have fun with that. Kurt Angle and Jericho, they've worked. Pull it up on YouTube.
They've worked. Pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah. The fuck do I need a card to tell me how the match is going to go? Vince already booked the shit. I mean, come on.
Now, hold on, dude. Dude, how good does that Vince McMahon documentary look? It's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, it does look pretty good.
Have you guys both seen the trailer for it?
I have not.
Oh,
my
God.
I'll have to show you after the podcast.
Yeah, we'll bring it up. Like, Vince is actually involved with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like right before his health, like really. It was like
show Benoit.
Yeah, they actually talk about Benoit and shit. Yeah.
Wow, that is nuts to hear.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
That will
It's gonna
actually
be
be
good.
exciting.
It's going to be
see.
like, it's going to be a lot better than what I think the Dark Side of the Rings are. And I love the Dark Side of the
I
Rings.
love Dark Side of the Ring.
But I
those
feel
are
like
actually
this
really good.
Netflix documentary is going to be very good. Also, one thing that I don't think is getting enough credit because of this Vince shit going on. The new season of Heels is coming out on Netflix. It's supposed to be dropping. That needs to be talked about because that show is fucking great. Me and Clayton Clark are stoked.
I've only seen the first season.
Yeah, you need to watch the second season.
You'll have to show me all of it,
Heels?
as I know you will.
Oh, dude.
He'll show it to you. He'll sit it down and he'll like break it down beat for beat.
Well, it's automatically goated because I fucking love. I love Arrow on Netflix. It's Stephen Amell is one of the main characters in Heels. I can't feel my legs, Stacy.
I knew that's what you were going to say because that's what you always say. So Dalton was talking about these 3-disc sets, and that's going to be a good because I'm telling you, WWE Home Video was goated.
Yeah,
like these and not even just a matter of but like these documentaries that they would make were so good, and I miss them. Like, I'm assuming that we've all seen our fair share of them. We'll start with you, Dalton. What was your... And I know you were talking about like a Bret Hart one, a Hogan one. I'm talking about the documentary, like the actual feature itself. What one is your favorite one that you've seen?
Oof. Like out of the disc sets?
Out of any... Yeah, we're not talking about WWE 24 or anything like that. We're talking about WWE Home Video.
Oof, man. I remember the Edge one.
Oh,
the one where it's like him doing the pose on the
yes,
ramp.
that one's called You Think You Know Me.
Yeah,
I have it on Blu-ray.
I remember that one. I remember Randy's with
Randy's is good.
The green snake. Those are the only two that like really pop out in my head that I fully remember.
The
Besides,
Punk
like,
one
the
was
Hogan.
good.
I do remember the Punk one, but I just do. I miss the whole setup thing of it too. You know, like you open it up and like you have to read the whole backside.
It was like
disc 1 is like talks about the upbringing. Disc 2 is like early matches. Disc 3 is
and it
like,
was chronological.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you've seen these. Like you've seen these WWE home video documentaries.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen them before.
Yeah.
My favorite, I would have to say, is the Rey Mysterio one. I think it
that
has
is
like
a
the
good
white.
one.
It has the white cover, I think.
Are you talking about? I remember the one
It
that
had
had
multiple
like
covers. I think of different colors, like a red one, a green one, a blue
Yeah,
one.
it came in like a.
If
I
it's
think
the
it
same
came in
one,
like a white sleeve, and then like it unfolded, and it was like multiple colors. It may have been. I don't know, but that I would say was probably the one that I would say is my most memorable.
yeah,
I remember that one.
Mine has got to be. It has got to be. The Rise and Fall of ECW. That one is so fucking good.
Can vouch. I've seen that one multiple times.
God, have you seen any of the other ECW document? There's a ton of them. There's Forever Hardcore. There's
yes, I think I've seen that one.
Jeremy Borash made that one actually.
I think those are the only two that I've seen though.
There's one called Barbed Wire City that's really good.
No, haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I'll have to track that one down. I have it somewhere, I think. Yeah, I would like of those. Now, I'll tell you another really good one, and I watched the shit out of this one as a kid. It was called it was about the Hardys, but it's not the one that you're thinking because I know the one. It was like it came with a Matt story and a Jeff story. This
Twist
one,
of Fate?
No, it's not that one. This one was like an early one, and it had like all the TLC matches and stuff on it. That was another really good one. This is back when I was a big Hardys fan. Now I could kind of take them or leave them, to be honest with you. I'm kind of over the Hardys, but that's a conversation for a later day. But yeah, I remember the Rey Mysterio one because I don't think I bought that one, but I remember I would always see it in the store. And that was, again, I think was it the one where it was his whole face was the front cover?
Yeah.
Or okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So they definitely released multiples of those because I remember there was a blue one, a green one, a red one, and it was all his mask was a different color.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But I remember one of the last ones they did was the Kevin Owens one. And the Kevin Owens one's really good. The Seth Rollins one was good, but again, my favorite one is Rise and Fall of ECW because that one that broke records. It was one of their top selling DVDs for the longest time because it was just so goddamn good.
Yeah.
It was just so good, man. But yeah, those were definitely a big part of my childhood as well, was those WWE Home Video. And it's so sad that WWE Home Video isn't around anymore. Physical media is dying.
I have faith that Netflix is going to do good with it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if like Netflix is going to, and they're doing it with Vince obviously, but like to see if WWE, because my theory is that Peacock is going to get rid of WWE and Netflix is going to get it. So like I'd be curious to see if like WWE 24 continues. And I keep saying 24, like that's the closest that I can think of to those WWE Home Video 3-disc sets.
Yeah.
Like they get a little bit more in depth than those other ones did. But what was so funny about those is you could tell they would just knock out multiple in one day, because like one would come out and Edge would be wearing a shirt talking about so-and-so. And then a couple of months later, this guy's DVD would come out, Edge, same shirt, John Cena, same shirt, whoever, Triple H, same shirt. You could just tell that they all just knocked them all out in one day. Hey, goddamn, pal, get to the arena early so that we can knock out all these interviews.
I can't blame him, dude. Fuck it.
Yeah, there was. Did you see the one? It's Randy Orton where he's talking about Motorhead and he goes, and he holds up the devil horns and holds his tongue out.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It is so cringy. Which the funny thing about the way that you're dressed right now, you are dressed like Menace Randy Orton whenever he was a problem, like when he was in Evolution.
This is where I dress like 90% of the time.
Yeah,
it's either this or jeans and boots.
Are you eating a jar of Nutella daily,
Dude,
like Randy Orton?
No, but I've developed a peanut butter problem.
Oh boy, we all have well, I know about some peanut butter problems. Believe me, we can get into that later. But
hey, boy,
I say, I say right now we take a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling. We all love live entertainment, right? We all love live wrestling, right? Well, what if I told you that there is a place that combines the entertainment and the wrestling live that we all love? Look no further than Elite Pro Wrestling. Whether it's in person in Odin, Indiana, or Washington, Indiana, or if you check them out on YouTube, Elite Pro Wrestling guarantees a quality show that allows them to live up to the name Elite. If you're feeling generous, go ahead and check them out on Patreon as well. If you back them, you're going to get early access to all of their shows before they hit YouTube. Again, check out EliteProfessionalWrestling.com. This episode is brought to you by Venom Energy. Hey, we've all been there, and there's nothing wrong with admitting to it. Well, what I mean is that we've all hit that midday slump, and we all need a little push to get us through the rest of the day. Well, what better option to give you a pick-me-up than one of the wonderful flavors of Venom Energy? Venom is what gets MadBash through those long show days, and we know that it can do the same for you. I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit for you, too. Yeah, come to our merch table when you see us at a show, and with the purchase of a MadBash Wrestling sticker or magnet, you get a Venom Energy drink on us. While supplies last, of course, so you better act quick. We'd like to thank Venom again for sponsoring this episode. Please consume responsibly. Not recommended for children under 18, pregnant or nursing women, or people sensitive to caffeine. One thing that I think is pivotal in all three of our childhoods when it comes to wrestling, and I know we know this one for a fact. I wasn't sure until you mentioned that you would watch these DVDs or that you would watch tapes of it. TNA.
Hell yeah.
I feel like was, but here's what's different. And you and I, you being Dalton, we get into this argument all the time.
Yep.
Of which era of TNA is better. And you like to say that it's like, okay, you go ahead and say yours, because I don't remember what yours is.
I don't think that there was definitely good matches in the Asylum years. I'm not saying that there's not. Like the greatest triple threat, Joe.
Well, that's not the Asylum years.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
That era is good. I liked that era, but probably it was the era that I grew up on, which was like the AJ Styles, the Bully Ray, Ken Anderson, Immortal Hogan, Eric
So probably
Bischoff.
2010 to like 2014.
Fucking okay. Look, we're gonna put this right out here right now. Right now.
Dalton just did that thing where he puts his hand on his face. I love it when he's fired up.
I'm tired of we all know Sting's fucking goated, okay? And if you don't think that Sting's goated, sincerely, go fuck yourself.
Hell
all right? But I'm tired of fucking people saying Crow Sting is like the best version, because it's not.
Get out.
Get the fuck out, all right? Get the fuck out and go study some tape somewhere.
If you say Joker Sting, I will punch you in the teeth.
Ta-ta for now. It's showtime. You shut the fuck up. It is definitely Joker Sting.
Joker Sting. No shot is Joker Sting the best Sting. Joker Sting is a good Sting. It's an underrated Sting.
What are you going to say? Surfer Sting?
No. Fucking...
Mekhi, get your shoes on.
They're already on.
Yeah, we're getting ready to leave.
I was going to say Surfer Sting.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I was going to ask your opinion because I think we got a three-way stalemate here, guys.
Walk home.
Will do.
Surfers, Oliver Kane will tell you that. Well, I mean, goddamn.
He's all right.
Yeah, Surfer Sting is. I'm actually going to voice message Oliver and then have him voice message me back. Just to see what he says, but. No, I'm not saying Surfer Sting, awesome. Joker Sting, probably better. I don't want to say better. Damn it. That's a tough one.
Yeah, you do. Ta-ta for now. Oh, you the promo where he locked the buzzard inside of the Immortal locker room?
Oh, that is good.
I mean, it was really good.
Do we not remember the time that he trapped Hulk Hogan in a chair, just spread face paint all over him? Or when he popped up in a ring out of complete fucking nowhere, sitting in a chair in front of a poker table. I mean,
that was legendary.
Yeah,
Crow Sting is the best Sting.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Like when he was stalking the NWO in the rafters. Yeah, that's my Sting.
I expect you to say that, Grandpa.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna send Oliver Kane a voice message. Hi, Oliver. I'm sending you this voice message as we're live on the Spot Show podcast. I am here with Dalton Davis and HBJ, and we are currently in the middle of a debate right now, and I figured that you would be the perfect one to give us an answer on which you think is correct, because you're just a Sting guy. What's the best era of Sting? I'm not going to tell you what we think, because we each have a differing opinion on what we think the best era of Sting is. However, I would like to know what your favorite era of Sting is, because I'm going to make your decision as final on what the best era of Sting is, because you know Sting so well. So thank you. I anxiously await your response. And here's the thing, guys. Why won't it send? There we go. Dude, I got this new phone, and like the way the screen is curved, like I can't hit send on voice messages. It's weird. If we do not get a response from Mr. Kane by the time this podcast is over, we will hopefully have one on Paid Show. And if not, then we will definitely let you guys know what he says.
Speaking of Paid Show.
I think I know which one he's going to say, though.
Speaking of Paid Show, you guys have to tune in because Shank Barzini has some shoot heat with Dickie Wabash that we will get into.
Was he going to try to sell me some copper wire?
Nope. He just... Well, his exact words was he wants to take the kid to Bama. So.
My God. So anyway, back to our discussion. What was the first era of TNA that you saw, HBJ?
So yeah, I was definitely probably... Well... Yeah, I would have to say it was... Dang... It was so early.
So it was early TNA then?
It was so early.
Were they in the six-sided?
Not yet.
Oh, damn. So, that's the Asylum era. That's the Asylum era. Was it the era where they had the two dancers on the stage?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's the Asylum. That's the Asylum.
That was it.
See, I started with that too, but see, I was, as I said... There was this magical box in my house that I would just say, Dad, I want a pay-per-view, and then there would be a pay-per-view. And it was weekly. It was the weekly pay-per-views that was like $10 a week. And that was the Asylum era. And that was a weird era with TNA because they were just finding their footing, trying to figure out, like they were bringing in New Jack and stuff. Sandman was there, which I love Sandman.
James Gang.
Well, no, this is pre-James Gang even.
Oh, dude, James Gang.
This is
hard.
3 Live Crew.
Oh.
What you know about 3 Live Crew?
That was early.
Yeah.
Early.
Ron Killings, Conan, BG James.
Conan, dude.
Conan, hell yeah.
I believe we were watching some of that in your living room not too long ago.
Yeah.
What, 3 Live Crew?
We've come to terms that actually Conan's a little rough. That's it.
Never been a Conan fan.
Yeah.
Never been a Conan fan. But my era of TNA that I remember most vividly was definitely the Spike TV era.
Yes, that's what I grew up on.
Where they still had the 6-sided.
Yes.
It was like, I want to say like 06 through 09 is the goated TNA era for me. I was watching weekly. Every Friday night, I was in the Impact Zone. I was there to cross the line.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It
is my destiny. It is my truth I see. In this world, I find.
Okay.
What is it? Because
yeah.
Is it because I took your bit?
No, it's just you kind of.
Did I butcher the lyrics?
No, you just stretched it a little much.
Well,
you had me and then you lost me, you know? It's like when you take too long for your shine, Mekhi, that's what happens. You lose the crowd.
Yeah, take notes.
Yeah.
Take notes, green kid. I will say though, I just remember my fucking mind being blown when Kurt Angle showed up in the Impact Zone.
Hell yeah.
Like the way that people were freaking out I'm actually going to go back, actually, not even Kurt Angle. I did lose my mind with Kurt Angle. Don't get me wrong. The way that people talk about how crazy it was when Scott Hall showed up on Nitro, I was still too young to like fully grasp the gravity of it. But I will tell you, when Christian Cage walked out in the Impact Zone, that's when I was like, oh boy, shit's getting real.
I remember I lost it with Kurt, but I also remember I lost it with Jeff when he came out. And the motherfucker. Oh, this is like
this is
like post match with Punk
when he was sitting up on top of the Steel Asylum.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his comeback to TNA.
Yeah.
That wasn't even his debut.
I know.
Mekhi watched his debut because he had tapes of the Asylum era.
Cool. Hey.
Do you remember?
Great guy here.
Do you know who Jeff Hardy's first opponent in TNA was?
No.
Let's just say his song's a seminar. Every day of his life.
Yeah, AJ's goated. Old Allen.
Yeah, AJ, like, I just remember there was a kid that I was in class with where we talk about the whole when did you find out thing. And see, if this was 06, 07, this was like freshman, sophomore for me. So by that point, you should probably know wrestling's at work. And this kid was of the mindset that WWE was real, but TNA was fake. And he sent me the video. Yes, the look on HVJ's face right now. He sent me proof. He sent me the video of whenever Scott Steiner went to slam Christian on the apron. You know the clip. And Christian goes before Scott Steiner's ready. We've all seen that. It was a famous Botchamania clip. So then I was like, dude, here. And then I sent him a fucking video of, because his favorite wrestler was The Undertaker, of Taker botching a tombstone. And I was like, it's called a botch. Like that's all it was. But yeah, TNA is one that I definitely look back fondly on. Like that, as weird as it is, because it's like we talk about different eras, ECW, you know, the end of the Ruthless Aggression, beginning of the PG era, Attitude era, beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era. We can look back and we can all three agree that like TNA is the one though. I know your answer already. I think I know your answer because we've talked about it. What's your favorite TNA match? Because I feel like you're going to say the Unbreakable 3-Way.
Yeah, that's a good one. But I've also been studying a lot of TNA since then.
Yeah, you have.
Fucking.
This is what Dalton Davis does. He breaks his fibula and then just watches a bunch of TNA.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've done, honestly. But James Storm and Kurt Angle from Final Resolution 2011, that was fucking good. Honestly, that whole pay-per-view was good because I think...
Yeah, you told me that was a good pay-per-view.
I think the main event was, if I remember correctly, it was AJ and Rude in a 30-minute Iron Man match, and that was really good. But yeah, dude, just like... First, it was probably the Unbreakable 3-way, though.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite TNA match?
I mean, you could honestly say any Samoa Joe and AJ Styles match.
Easily.
Honestly.
Easily.
Yeah. But just to pick one in particular, I would have to go with... Man, that's honestly a tough one. Just because...
If you can't... just
so
to
many
let you
clashes throughout the years, like how are you supposed to pick?
Yeah, and that is a valid answer. That is a perfect answer because that's how good TNA was. Like, it's hard to pick a good match.
Yeah.
You know, I just got a notification and hopefully, it is an Oliver Kane voice message. Let's go, boys. Oh, it is 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Buckle up.
Let's go.
The very best version of Sting is Surfer Sting. For the simple fact that he is the best version of Sting. Because without Surfer Sting, there is no other Sting. Hell, Cody Rhodes is doing a version of Surfer Sting now with his character.
He's not wrong.
Crow Sting, while great aura, didn't have a lot of matches.
He's got me there.
Wolfpack Sting was kind of weird. Wolfpack Goatee Sting was weird.
Yeah, it was.
I enjoyed Joker Sting for what it was.
Hell yeah.
Main Event Mafia Sting was good. But the best version of Sting is Surfer Sting with the neon, with the just Stinger
Dalton
splash.
Davis is shaking his head right now.
The blonde mohawk, flat top. Like, that is the very best version of Sting, in my opinion, is the one and only Surfer Sting. And he had the best theme song.
He just sent another 30-second voice message.
Well, all I'm gonna say is I don't think your opinion is valid if your pants don't go past your ankles.
I would like to add, Surfer Sting was the one that had the tag match with Lex Luger against the Steiners. Surfer Sting is the one that had the feud with Vader. Surfer Sting is the one that feuded with Ric Flair, the best version. Let's see, just all around to me, the best version of Sting will always be Surfer Sting.
HBJ, you win this round, brother. Congratulations. You come on to the Spot Show podcast and get your first dub.
I will take that W.
That hasn't good. I knew I sent that message knowing that he was going to say Surfer Sting. I knew he was going to say Surfer Sting. But did he just send another? Like, he sent another voice message. I'll play that one later. Dalton is not happy about this right now.
No, actually, I want my release from MadBash.
You've threatened that many times.
Yeah. I'm going to see if there's sure there's other podcast forums that would use me. That think Joker Sting's goated? Possibly. A couple of my buddies have one. Can I give shout outs here?
Have you guys had dinner yet?
No.
I was thinking there's a nice diner down the street.
Yeah, they got a good podcast. There's the Go Hard or Go Home podcast. Me and Clayton Clark enjoy that one. So yeah.
I love it. So
Joe Rogan's also really good. I like Rogan.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Yeah, can you pull that up, Jamie?
Now I think that I make a very bold claim here. Because obviously this is all stuff that we grew up on. So it holds a special place in our hearts. We go back, we watch it time and time again, especially when you're someone like Dalton Davis.
Yep.
About a year and a half ago, 2 years probably, more than that. Before I was back in the business. I decided I'm starting from the first Raw of 98, and I'm watching all the way through. And I got through into April. Now, granted, I did not ingest the entire Attitude Era, but to me, 98's peak Attitude Era, because that's when they're firing on all cylinders. Overrated.
Yeah.
It was not good. It was good. But nah, man. Because the time period that you were growing up watching, Dalton, the PG era, bring back the Attitude Era. No. No, we don't need to. It wasn't good. Why? So we can watch, and this is no knock on these two competitors, or these four competitors, rather. So that we can watch the fucking Headbangers and the Midnight Express wrestle the same match every week. Because that's what we were getting. Granted, we did get Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie pushed off the stage in a dumpster, goated. I was there when that happened. I was at that Raw. It was a cool Raw. But another thing, too, and it goes back to a meme that has been very popular lately of where people are like, wrestling is so good right now. And it's like, well, you weren't in the trenches.
Yeah.
During the PG era, because I think people look back on the PG era, and it's definitely a generational thing, because if you look, because that's what you grew up with.
Yeah.
But you're also not sitting here saying we need to bring back the PG era.
Well, when I first started, it was, like I said, the Ruthless Aggression era. So yeah, it was PG, but it was
towards the end of the Ruthless Aggression era.
It was kind of like a fine line of like the what you've seen. Like, it wasn't as watered down as what it got to be later on throughout the years.
Well, we also got to factor into, to me, the best era of the Ruthless Aggression era is 03 to 06.
Yeah.
Roughly.
I'm bad with timestamps, so I can't really tell you what I think the best years of what I grew up with was. But like I said, I grew up, I remember shit my favorite storyline, Orton and Triple H.
Yeah, so that was
DDT,
09.
That was cool. When Kane was chasing after Eve Torres, and then Zack Ryder.
09, 2010.
Zack Ryder got pushed off the stage.
That actually might have been 2011.
Big Show chokeslamming John Cena through the spotlight. Crime Time messing up JBL's limousine, like that stuff, and that's what I thought was really cool, because it was back when that was a thing, it was, let's tell the story of why we hate each other and then have the match. And that was something that I kind of enjoyed. I stopped enjoying it later on because I wanted to, study wrestling, obviously. But you got to think a lot of those matches back then, they'd be in a storyline, but they wouldn't touch until that pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? They weren't having multiple interactions.
During the Attitude Era, they were fighting every week.
Yeah. And so, keep them away from each other. And then I remember stuff just getting at your opponents and stuff, seeing Randy Orton constantly kick people in the head, and then seeing somebody get their comebacks, like Kofi fucking up that race car, shit like that, dude. I don't know, it was dope. I loved that era.
What was it? Nothing is more violent than bald-headed Randy Orton.
Bald-headed Randy Orton was nuts. Ripping John Cena's dad over the barricade, putting him in the fucking skull.
Yeah.
And then just literally throwing his hands
But you
up.
know what? Edge did it first. Edge beat up John Cena's dad first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Edge. He had a good run, and I was a fan of Edge.
I love Edge.
For me, the villain that I hated the most was Randy Orton. And I remember, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I absolutely love the returns and the surprise pops. And I think that's what kind of deteriorated me from watching a lot of wrestling, was because I started becoming a wrestler, so that stuff kind of got watered down for me.
And that's another thing too, is that you got to look back on it and try to look back on it with those eyes before you were too smartened up to the business.
Yeah. But I remember, like, and I'm sure you guys remember, do you remember Legacy being in the ring and then like security being on the ramp and then Vince's music,
and then Vince and
Shane and then Triple H, and then they clear house, and like that whole build up, like shit like that was so like instrumental in my brain, because I remember going to school and I remember even being at like football practice with Mekhi, like, dude, like, you see fucking Triple H broke into Randy Orton's house? Like, that shit's fucking nuts, dude.
It's like, palm trees in fucking St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
And then finding out that really wasn't Randy Orton's wife.
Yeah. Just, it's nuts.
Oh, man. Well, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap up here. I feel like this is going to be, I say this every time we have guests, it's going to be a fun paid show.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a fun paid show. I feel like we got some CCW stories we can talk about from someone who witnessed them from the front lines.
We also have a story that we could tell of our unofficial first match.
Yes, I want to hear all about the unofficial first match that HBJ had with Dalton Davis.
No, I'm not talking about the one that's on YouTube.
Oh.
I'm talking about the one that happened at the Philatorium. The tag match. Me and you against Landon and Brock.
I thought you was talking about Trailer Mania.
Oh, are we going to get into Trailer Mania? Oh, we may need to get into Trailer Mania on Page Show, brother. But, we're going to go ahead and wrap up, guys. HBJ, I know that you're not really on social media a lot. Dalton, where can the people find you?
Yeah, just go to MadBash, dude.
At this point, just find him on MadBash. You can, of course, find me on Instagram at DW_mischievous_rabbit, which I'm already thinking of changing again. I have a couple ideas in mind, but we'll see. Madrox, get feeling better, brother. We need to have you back on the podcast. Need to have you back. This would have been this was an incredible conversation with you two, but it would have been that much sweeter to have Madrox here. Always sweeter to have the brother with us here. But so for HBJ, for Dalton Davis, I'm Dickie Wabash, and we will see you next time. Oh, that's not the outro. The outro is, we'll see you down the road on some form of content.
Botch.
I botched it, brother. I'm not going to cut it out either. We're going to keep it in.
You talk too much.
We'll see you down the road on some form of content.